what may work for one wedding may not work for another.
Has there been a time where a couple really invested in something?
Just because at the end of the day, the only proof that they have of their wedding day. My name is Stephanie Lay with Esselle Weddings and Events. I am a wedding planner and coordinator on the island of Oahu, specifically Oahu. I don't currently travel to any of the other islands or out of state or anything like that. I got started with wedding planning a few years ago. I actually attended the University of Hawaii at Manoa, where I studied travel industry management. My first internship was actually at a catering and ballroom facility in downtown. That facility is no longer in operations, but I was in catering and events, and that's how I got started with doing events.
Wow. That's amazing, Stephanie. We're really excited to dive into today's topic, which I think something a lot of the couples need to hear. And we're going to talk about things that guests actually care about a wedding versus things that guests tend to not notice as much. Because let's be real, couples do spend so much time and money stressing over the smallest details, right? And so I know couples sometimes get caught up in the tiniest details, but from your experience, what are some common things that couples stress over that guests rarely even notice?
Okay, that's a great question, Fiona. So, with wedding planning and coordination, for me, everything is very situational. It depends on the couple, their guest count, where they're getting married, and who their guests are. So, what I find is what may work for one wedding may not work for another. So, for example, I find that a lot of couples are finding inspiration online through like TikTok, Instagram, all these like social media sites. A lot of couples are inspired by all of these new trends online, but it may not be applicable for their wedding, depending on their guest count, where they're getting married, and who their guests are. So, for example, I have a lot of wedding couples that are really inspired by content creation, or to be even more specific, like TikTok dances or routines. And for some weddings, that is very much appropriate for them. Like it's a youthful group, everyone is on board with following a choreographed routine or something like that. But I do have some weddings where they want to mimic it, but it just may not be appropriate. So, for
Mhm.
example, if you're a bride or a groom and you have all these getting ready dance ideas that you want to do, like those dances where you're like in your PJs and then you jump and then all of a sudden you're at your wedding. I think that's so cute and fun. But when your entire wedding party can't stay on beat and they're not choreographed, and they don't jump at the same time, they're really shy, and it stresses the couple out because we're spending precious time trying to film this 30-second video, and just that's just not the right fit for them. And so that's an example of something where a couple might really care about that, but it just might not be the right fit for them. Or another thing is I find that a lot of couples are investing more and more time into their details. Things like custom menus and place cards and drink stirrers and just all the tiny little fun details for their wedding. But again, depending on where your wedding is or the size of your wedding, it just might not be the right fit. For example, if I'm doing an outdoor wedding, 200, 250 people, and you're trying to do a really beautiful place setting with multiple moving pieces, sometimes your guests, they don't care about that. When you're at a wedding that's that large, your guests are busy trying to say hi to each other, having conversations, catching up with your family and your friends, and they're not going to notice those tiny little details that you put on your tablescape because they're just too busy chatting and catching up with each other.
Yeah.
Or say, for example, like a beautiful seating chart. If you have 200, 250, 300 names on a seating chart, it's going to be really hard for your guests to read that. And that's a beautiful investment to make. It's a beautiful statement piece, but it just might not be appropriate for a wedding of that size, depending on how it's executed.
Mhm. Yeah, I really like how you started off with the first question that you should ask yourself, like, how many guests are you going to have? Because you're going to base the details into how many people you're accommodating in your wedding. And it's different for
Mhm.
a smaller wedding versus a bigger wedding.
Oh,
And I do want to dive into that part of considering your guest count. I know you said that smaller details won't really matter for bigger guests or a bigger group. For you, Stephanie, what are some of these? I know you've mentioned like seating charts and all that. Are there was there any time or has there been a time where a couple really invested in something and in the end they didn't get the reaction they were hoping for?
unfortunately,
Uh,
yes. I'm gonna try to be as vague as possible so they don't figure out who they are. But I had a wedding where the couple invested a lot of money into these beautiful floral leis that they wanted to gift to each and every one of their guests. So I'm sure you've seen some photos online where couples have leis draped on the chairs at the ceremony. And then when guests come, they're supposed to put on the lei and wear the lei for the rest of the evening. And so I did have a couple who invested in fresh flower leis for their guests. And keep in mind, these guests were all coming in from international, right? They're coming from Japan and
oh wow.
Asia, some from Australia, the mainland. This was a fully destination wedding. And although when the guests came and they saw the leis and it was absolutely breathtaking and beautiful on the chairs, they all got left behind because it was a hot, hot summer day. These
Oh,
guests were not used to wearing leis. And so
yeah.
some of them put the leis on, but a lot of them ended up taking it off shortly afterwards. And
Oh,
keep in mind, this was in the middle of summer, right after graduation season, the beginning of wedding season, and what is normally a $15, $20 lei, these were like
wow.
$55 each. Just it was just the supply and the demand. It was just crazy. And the couple invested like close to $2,000 in these
Mhm.
fresh flower leis that just didn't get utilized the way that they had hoped it would be used. And so that's something, for example, right? You have to take into consideration your guests. Do they like wearing leis? Do they know what a lei is? Would they be comfortable wearing one? And what is the impact that you're going for? I
Yeah.
think it was a beautiful gesture gifting these beautiful lei to the guests, but unfortunately, it was just
Yeah.
not a good fit for that one. For me and my team, we went around encouraging the guests to wear their leis just for the photos and for the video and to just receive this beautiful lei. But a lot of them just, it was just too hot for them.
For sure. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that story. And we really appreciate it, just having your firsthand experience. And to me, it just goes to show how important having seasoned wedding planner and coordinator involved in your wedding can be. Though you do want to think about cost and budget, but I definitely firmly believe that when you have somebody on your side that is experienced, you actually save a lot more and just overall have a better experience. The guests had to choose, okay, do I wear this hot thing for the couple or do I not? And then it's like this emotional thing that, and then also the cost of creating those leis and purchasing them. So yeah, just definitely having somebody like you or like a wedding planner, coordinator will definitely help for sure. Just avoid any type of things you might regret. Absolutely, for sure.
I do agree on that. And that experience, that detail that they want to add it was really super nice. I would have really liked having those flower lace for my wedding,
Yeah.
but it was just, I guess it wasn't really thought out so well. We weren't able to consider the weather, the conditions, and that people coming from different places and they weren't used with the atmosphere. And it really, for me, it boils down to getting to know your guests, if you really like, if you know them
Mhm.
really well, and if when you're really having this wedding is super important. And I
Mhm.
agree with Charles, like having someone who sees an expert and having that foresight for this type of scenarios is really important. And it's just unfortunate that the money they put on spending money on those flower lace was put into
Mhm.
waste, which is really sad. And now we're on that subject of budgeting or actually spending money for these details. For you, Stephanie, how can couples save money by cutting back on things that guests are less likely to care about without sacrificing the overall experience?
Okay, so great question, Fiona. So, when most couples approach me for wedding planning, they have an idea of what they're comfortable with spending on their wedding, right? They might tell me, hey, staff, this is my wedding day budget. How much am I spending per vendor category? And typically for me, Fiona, I like to get to know the couple a little bit further to figure out what are their priorities for their wedding day, whether it's the decor, the food, the entertainment, the photo and video. And then going further into their priorities, I ask them questions about their guests, right?
Mm.
Are these your friends? Are these your family? Are these local guests? Are they destination? Tell me a little bit more about your guest count. And usually couples, they'll come back to me and they'll let me know, hey, Steph, like my wedding is, I don't know, 90% family above the age of 50, or it's an even split, 50-50, 30 and under, cousins,
Mm.
first cousins, a youthful group, and the other 50% is like the parents. And so based on the couple's guest count, where their guests are coming from, I try to ask them, what do you guests like to do? So when you hang out with your friends, when you hang out with your family, what do you guys like to do? Are you a more conservative group? Are you a louder, more rambunctious bunch? And from there, I make recommendations on how to enhance the wedding that is appropriate for that wedding party. For example, Charles, Fiona, you guys were getting married and you told me, hey, Steph, my family, we're a bunch of foodies. We love good food and we love to drink. And so knowing that, I would recommend that you folks spend more of your budget on a great quality vendor that provides excellent catering and excellent bar services. But say on the flip side, you folks tell me like, hey, Steph, we're a dry wedding. We don't drink alcohol at all. But we do love to dance. We love to sing. And so I would say, okay, we're not having a bartender. We don't need to spend money on a bartender there. Maybe we could hire somebody to do like really great non-alcoholic cocktails, like mocktails for your wedding. But if that's not a priority, let's hire a really good DJ that's going to be able to get you folks dancing throughout the night. And if you love to sing, let's take it a step further and let's hire a DJ who has an LED screen that can pull up lyric videos and your guests can do like a dance with karaoke all together. And so it's really about figuring out what do your guests like to do and what do they not like to do so that we can figure out what is appropriate for the wedding. And that is a real life example. We do have couples that don't drink. We have couples that really like to dance and sing, and it's just all about finding the right fit for the wedding day and using that as an example, right? Like I wouldn't tell a couple, hey, let's hire the best bartender on the island for your dry wedding. We're gonna move that money somewhere else that will be more impactful for your guests.
Yeah, I know impactful for me as a Filipino would be that LED screen with that karaoke.
Right.
That's such a good idea for
Yeah.
sure.
That was super cool, like very creative, like having a DJ. And I didn't know like a DJ can might be able to do that, facilitate a karaoke night for guests. It's just like, super fun. And because you are focusing on experience that really matter for the couple, it you get a little more creative rather than spending
Mm.
money on that's something that's really not so important. First of all, for the couple and also the guest. And to me, what you said about considering it's not just the guest count, it's considering what type of guests are you having on your wedding because it may be different for each wedding. Some would have more adults, no kids, something like that. And some would have younger people. And that really is something important to take note of. And for you personally, in your opinion, Stephanie, are there any areas where it's better to spend just a little more, but maybe not go overboard?
Tiana, for me, this is more of a personal thing,
Mhm.
but for wedding couples in particular, I do always highly recommend that the bride and the groom, they invest more heavily in their media team. So their photographer, their videographer, just because at the end of the day, the only proof that they have of their wedding day are the photos and the videos. And so generally I recommend to couples like, hey, let's, spend a little bit more money finding the right fit for you for your photographer and videographer. That's on the personal side.
Mhm.
Now, on the guest side, I generally like to recommend to couples that we need to hire a great execution team. So whether that's hiring a real quality caterer that is full service, will service all of their guests appropriate during the dinner time, or a really efficient bartender who's able to make wonderful cocktails without too much of a wait time. Because let's be real, nobody wants to wait too long to grab a beverage at the bar, right? Or again, it just depends on the couple's priorities. But generally, on the guest side of things, I do recommend that the couple invest a little bit more in their service team, which usually consists of the caterer, the bartender, any of the food service vendors.
Yeah, that really makes a lot of sense. Like having a fully serviced wedding, it's still, after all, an event that people are coming to. And of course, it's about the couple that they want to have the best time. But as a couple, you're inviting guests who you also want to enjoy at your wedding. And now I know we,
And then also hiring a great MC,
oh, yeah,
though, Fiona.
yeah,
Like, I
I
think
really
that's
agree.
really important. I'm not going to be at the microphone. And so you need to hire a really great MC and push the timeline along so that
Yeah.
all of your vendors can work as smoothly as possible.
Yeah, that really is a big thing. When you're having a good MC who's able to facilitate and create that atmosphere that's fit for the which type of crowd are you going for, is really a key to having one of the key points to having a successful event. Not, if not wedding, all types of events. And yeah, I like that one. And I know we've been talking about things that guests don't usually care about or not really notice. And now I do want to talk more about things that guests actually care about. From your experience, Stephanie, what are some of the things that guests constantly appreciate and remember the most at weddings?
I would say, as a planner and coordinator, I do get the opportunity to chit chat with guests throughout the wedding. And I would say most guests, they really appreciate things being on time and knowing what's going to happen next. Because whether this is the first wedding of the year or the 10th wedding of the year, most guests, when they arrive to a wedding, they just want to know what's happening next and are we on time? They want to know, hey, is the ceremony starting on time? Where's the cocktail hour? What can I do right now? And so most guests, they tend to appreciate having direction throughout the day. So whether that's hiring like a great coordination team to keep the day moving, or even printing little programs that you can pass out to the guests so they have a sequence of events of what's happening next. The next thing is I do find that many guests love being able to have a great beverage, a great
Mm.
appetizer. Who doesn't love really good food and drink at a wedding? I find that during cocktail hour, that's when guests have finally let loose a little bit. They've just enjoyed the ceremony. Now they're enjoying a great beverage, great little appetizer. Is even better when we have live music. I think
Oh,
that's a beautiful touch. You're attending a wedding in Hawaii. You have this beautiful cocktail, a tiny little ahi poke bite. You're listening to great guitarists or great singers singing during cocktail hour. I do find that guests also really love a great photo booth or a photo lounge so they
mm.
can take photos and have that little keepsake at the end of the day. I do find that guests really, they tend to gravitate to those things, as those are the common elements shared throughout many weddings. It's enjoying a good meal and making memories with their friends and their families.
Mm.
Wow. Just going off of that, you brought up some really key experience elements. What do you feel are like some really more recent higher demand items you feel like maybe something that like that just really over the top lately that it's important that guests really appreciate this over the last
Mhm.
year or two, like how it's changed from maybe past weddings in past years. What are your thoughts on that?
I find that many guests are prioritizing their comfort when it comes to a wedding. And comfort can mean so many different things when it comes to a wedding. So, for example, when we're indoors at a hotel, right? Guests love being in a nice, shaded, air conditioned ballroom where they're away from the elements. But say we're outdoors, I think I do try to encourage all guests to get a tent
Yeah.
for their wedding. A tent is a big investment, but it will save your guests. Temperatures can get so hot during the summer, and just having a little bit of shade in the middle of a large field next to the ocean is so incredibly helpful. So I do find that guests they do want to be comfortable at a wedding.
Yeah.
And then having a tent too will save additional investments that you've made for your wedding. Your flowers aren't going to wilt.
Right.
Your place settings tend to stay in place because we have the tent to help block some of the wind. And just overall, your guests are just happier. They're more comfortable. In case it rains
Yeah.
or in case of extreme sun, your
Yeah.
guests are protected and they'll stick around and they'll enjoy your wedding a lot more when they're comfortable.
I do have one other question going off of that. Also, just going off of the guest experience, what are some things that you feel guests really remember? Like something like that they can actually talk about or they rave about after the wedding. What are some things that you feel either mainstream and popular or even maybe something a little niche that not many couples do but have been very memorable for you?
Ooh, that's a good question, Charles. Again, I do think it's situational depending on the wedding couples.
Yeah.
One, I feel like local weddings on Oahu, it's all about the food and the drink. So if your food is and the drinks are good, your guests will be so happy and they'll always remember. They'll be like, oh, remember the time we went to that wedding for so and so? Oh, the lechon was really good, or their pupus were so delicious, or oh my God, the bar was amazing at that wedding. And so I feel like for local weddings, really good food and drink is always memorable. I would say for some of my like destination clientele, the ones that have a more intimate wedding, I'm talking like 75 and under, 50
Yeah.
and under, those guests tend to be really touched when the couple is able to spend time with them on the wedding day,
Yeah.
whether that's having a little bit of a longer cocktail hour so that the couple can go around and mingle and talk to all of the guests, or having something personalized for that guest. I did a wedding a few years ago where it was a very small micro wedding. I think there was like 16 guests, and the bride wrote thank you notes to
Yeah.
each and every individual guest. And not only was it a thank you note that she wrote out, she had them engraved on these little, it was like wood, think like a wooden thank you card, and it had the guest's name, a personal message from her, and then like her and her husband's signature at the bottom. And that I will always remember that because she took the time to write out a personal thank you note for each and every person. She made it so that it was tangible, something that they could keep. And I'm pretty confident that every single guest still has that thank you note to this day because it was engraved on wood. It's like permanent. Like they get to keep that for a very long time. And so I find doing like a real personal touch like that can be very impactful. But again, writing thank you card to 16 guests is
Yeah.
different from writing a thank you card for 150 individuals. And again, just very situational, but food and drink. I feel like larger weddings, smaller weddings, something like a little bit more personalized, a little bit more of a personal touch. That's always a beautiful touch. And then the last thing is I feel like every wedding guest wants to take a photo with the bride and groom. So
Yeah.
just having one photo with either all of your guests or like smaller groups of guests, those are things that couples tend to overlook, right? They forget, oh, maybe I don't need to take a photo of my coworkers or with my tennis group or my softball group, but just having a little group photo with your guests there, like I feel like a guest, they feel special because they were included more than just an invite.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely attest to a lot of things you said. As a vendor, we do photo, video, DJ MC, and photo booth. I know a lot of us, when we talk, we remember venues based on like the food that was available.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, remember? Have you been to this venue before? Oh, the one with this and this
Yeah.
food. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so we tend. So you're totally right with the whole locals. We do think about the food and the drinks and things like that. But then what's also cool, like for us, we're like wedding vendors, right? We're really paid to serve our clients. And it really touches us when they write us like thank you notes and letters or send us emails. Like for us, we have this wall that's like facing our office right here that has thank you notes. And we see their name like even 2, 3, 4, 5 years later. So it's definitely memorable for us. I remember that couple, they were super sweet and loved being there for their wedding type of thing. So I totally ride on your wave there, Steph,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. I can imagine that some of these things, like this personal notes, these thank you cards, really taking the time to appreciate your guests, they are more affordable, but they leave a lasting impression. You remember how they spent time with you, and it goes to show that as a guest, like if you're a part of that wedding, it's really good to feel valued. Like you're actually part of this wedding, that you're not just invited just because you're a coworker, a colleague, but because they actually want you to be a part of that wedding. And there's so many trends nowadays, things that we can try, but it really boils down to how you make them feel valued and why they're actually there at your biggest day. And
Okay.
yeah. And so, Stephanie, can you share any stories of weddings where a couple got it just right in terms of focusing on things that mattered most to their guests?
Yeah. Okay. So, you know what? This is going to be fun. I'm going to use an example. It was a wedding that we all did together last year.
Ooh.
I don't know if you remember this wedding couple, Charles. I still keep in touch with them. It's a super sweet couple. But so for everyone listening in, so last year I had the opportunity to plan and coordinate a wedding with a couple who actually hired H&L Studios for everything. They had you guys for photo, video, DJ, MC. And so for the couple on the planning side, they were very almost like stressless, right? They were like, okay, Steph's going to take care of everything. She's going to talk to Charles, and then Charles's team is going to take care of everything else. And for the a la carte vendors they hired, officiant, musician, that all came afterwards. But for that couple in particular, for their wedding, it was more on the intimate side. I think they had like about 100 guests at their wedding, and it was mostly family with some friends. To give you guys some background, Charles, I actually did the wedding for the groom's older brother a few years ago. And so that's how that couple found me again. But for this couple in particular, so if you just visualize it, 100-ish guests, local couple, mostly family with some friends. And I thought their wedding day was perfect. They hired a really solid photo, video, DJ, MC team. They had really great playlists throughout the evening. I think their day started off wonderfully, just starting from the ceremony. Now, the couple had hired their friend, who is a semi-professional musician, to sing and play the piano during their ceremony. And that was already like a beautiful touch. Like all the guests were like, oh my God, we're like at this beautiful venue. We have somebody singing and playing the piano. It was just absolutely beautiful. And during the ceremony, the couple gifted leis just to their families. And so the guests were able to like witness this like really intimate moment during the ceremony where the couple gave leis to their mom and dads. And then after the ceremony, the couple took a photo with each and every single one of their guests,
Mhm.
not individuals, but more so in groups. Like they did mom's side, dad's side, my coworkers, my church friends, my military friends. And so they were very thoughtful in their photo shot list after their
Mm.
wedding ceremony. The couple also invested a little bit more, and they had a really great cocktail hour for their guests with really good appetizers, really good beverages. And then they had hired their DJ to play music during the cocktail hour so that the guests could listen to music during the cocktail hour. Their check-in table process was also really smooth. I
Mm.
got to talk to the couple, and we figured out a way to make the check-in table really seamless. But I think something that the guests really appreciated was just during the reception, nothing felt forced, right? The
Mm.
couple did all of the traditional elements of a wedding without it didn't feel like the guests were forced to sit through this program that they didn't want to be in. It was just a perfectly intimate group on the larger side, but still an intimate group.
Mm.
And this couple, they really liked Pokemon. And so they had like little touches a Pokemon throughout their wedding. Like they had a Pokemon cake topper during their ceremony. They had a rendition of the Pokemon theme song as their walking out song during the wedding. They had like classical renditions of Pokemon songs during dinner.
Mhm.
And I think like the guests who knew what was going on, but the
Mm.
other guests who like maybe weren't really into Pokemon, they just enjoyed themselves because it was just the right size of a wedding. Not
Mm.
too big, too small. Everything was like really comfortable, and all the vendors, we just all worked really well together. But
Yeah.
though I think to me that was like one of my most memorable weddings.
Wow.
Do you know which one I'm talking about, Charles?
Yes,
I think I
absolutely.
know
I do
too.
know. And I'm glad because we do see you around, right? We do see you at like Oahu Wedding Association meetups and then at other weddings. And for me personally, I think this is like one of 100 maybe that you've experienced. And so for me, yeah, it was definitely memorable for me. One, the couple was just really sweet, very caring. And what we noticed, I think I can't remember if I did film or photo, or maybe I did
Both
both.
that
I'm not
day.
sure.
You did both that
I
day.
think so. We did both, but I can't remember what I did. I think I did photo, but I was there doing the like we talked with the bride, and I realized we had a lot of. We're both from Maui. We both have family in the Haina area, and so we talked. We got to know each other well, and we really had this comfortable relationship. And so for us, it was super easy because we knew the couple was just really about the wedding day, just celebrating their
Mhm.
marriage, and it just made it super easy for us, for sure. I definitely love that wedding. Yeah, definitely one of the most memorable ones for me too. And that's Pokemon song. I'll
Yes.
go down this rabbit trail a little bit. It was like stuck in my head for 2 weeks. Like
Mhm.
that tune when they were playing it on the piano. And then we even incorporated it in their wedding film. So I don't know if you saw that, but it was like at the end, we put that song in
Mhm.
at the end of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, super memorable for us for sure.
Wow.
Yeah, and like I think that wedding was just perfect because the couple put in the right type of effort and detail into their
Mm.
wedding.
Mm.
Like they had some custom signage at their wedding, but it wasn't too much. They had the musician, they had the professional DJ, they had the photo booth, they had all the things that would have made them and their guests happy. And so it was just a perfect touch. And even like their little favors, right? I don't know if you remember this, Charles, but their favors were like these little cookies. And who doesn't like a delicious chocolate chip shortbread cookie? And so they
Mhm.
even got a really yummy wedding favor as their favor to all of their guests.
Mhm.
And I just think everything that the couple had wanted was just, it was very intentional, and
Mhm.
it was just the right.
Yeah, that's just such a good story. And I think I don't personally know the couple, but I've seen the film, like what we've done for them. And I remember that Pokemon song. Yeah. It was super cool having to have that incorporate in your wedding, and the story of how they got it all right, just having to put enough details and not go overboard. but still have that overall super fun and comfortable and enjoyable guest experience is really a key to having a really good wedding, both for the couple and also on the guest side. And Stephanie, this is such, I would have to say that this has been such an eye opening conversation. And I think you've shared so many valuable insights that will help couples focus their energy and resources on what really matters. And before we wrap up this episode, I do have questions, three questions for you, something
Yeah.
that we ask our guests a lot on on our episodes. And this is more of like personal questions for you. And so my first question would be, what is your favorite resource that you recommend for couples planning their wedding in Hawaii?
Oh, my favorite resource
Mm-hmm.
for helping couples plan their wedding in Hawaii. I would say, first off, I think reading reviews online is really important when it comes to hiring vendors. But really, it's all about the referrals. If you've already
Mm-hmm.
hired one vendor, who does that vendor like working with? Whether it's you have hired photography first and you ask them, like, hey, Charles, Fiona, who do you like working for wedding coordination? Or who do you recommend for flowers? Or say on the flip side, the couple has hired the venue first and they use the vendor's referral list and their resources. I think that goes even beyond a random review that you read online from somebody that you'll never meet. But I do think referrals, personal referrals, are
Yeah,
incredibly valuable resource.
right.
And it's free. If
Uh,
you ask a vendor that you hired, hey, who do you like working with? That's a free resource
yeah,
for you.
yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Having that referrals and couples go to you to ask for your expertise and what you know. And having that list is something that they can trust because, after all, you've done it. Like you've walked through all of this experience. My second question is, what do you believe is the reason you do what you do, specifically being in the wedding planning industry?
Okay. So for me, Fiona, I gave you folks a little bit of a background, right? I
Mm,
first started off in catering events, and it was not just weddings. It was like social events, it was corporate events, like lots of meetings. So many events for like big corporations doing like their quarterly meetings or
mm,
fundraisers, galas, whatnot. But for me, I found that doing social events like weddings, birthdays, vow renewals were the most rewarding. There's nothing like building a relationship with somebody for this extremely big, memorable event in their life and just seeing it happen from start to finish, right? I'm
uh-huh.
meeting a couple when they're newly engaged, first starting to plan their wedding, and I'm there with them, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, a year and a half. And it's just so incredibly rewarding for me to be able to see it through to completion. Like I met you on day one when you had very little things put together. And now I'm saying goodbye to you at the end of your wedding, and everything we've planned has come and gone. I'm still around if couples need follow up after the wedding, but there's just, for me, it's just very rewarding to be able to be part of that process from start to finish.
Right. Yeah, I love that. My last question, Stephanie, is where can people find you and get a hold of you?
Okay. So Fiona, I couples can find me online on my website, EsselleWeddings.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Esselle Weddings. I don't post as often as I should online, but I do exist online. People can also reach out to me via email, cheers at EsselleWeddings.com. Yeah, I live online. You guys can find me online. I exist. You can find me on there. And I think I'm on your guys' website as well, right? Couples can find
Yes.
me through your website as
Yeah.
well.
We're about to say, yeah, you can find her on our recommended
Yes.
coordinators and planners on our website. We'll definitely link her website and her ways to connect with Steph on the show notes and the description below. So definitely check those out.
Yeah. So I said I have three questions for you, Stephanie, but I do have one last question before we finally wrap up.
Okay.
Is there any last piece of advice you'd give to couples who are starting to plan their wedding?
Oh, so something that I tell all couples is when you first start planning your wedding, there are two really important things that I like to start couples off with. First is when you shop for a venue, you need to shop for it together. Like you have to be able to go down to the venue in person if you're able to and see if it's a good fit for you. It's all about the couple and both of them have to say and agree, yeah, this is the place that we're getting married. This is it. And if you're planning from afar and you can't go and see your venue in person, that's totally fine. Most venues have 360 tours online that you can use, or the event manager might be happy to give you a FaceTime tour or send you like videos or photos of their venue. First thing is both the couple, they have to be on board that like this is their venue. This is where they're getting married. And then the second piece of advice that I give to all couples is whoever you hire as your wedding planner, wedding coordinator, you yourself also have to make sure that it's a good fit for you. So I do recommend all couples to just chat and interview with a bunch of different wedding planners. I find that we're a very collaborative industry. If I'm not a good fit for you, I'd be happy to refer you to one of my coordinator friends, and hopefully they're a good fit for you as well. Because at the end of the day, whoever you're trusting to plan and coordinate your wedding, like you have to trust them. And you have to like them too, because this person that you're
Yes.
trusting your wedding day with, like if you're not able to get an interview or a consult call with your planner and coordinator, or you feel weird about it, just keep shopping until you find the best planner coordinator fits for you. At the end of the day, I know I'm speaking for myself. I do think my colleagues would agree with me that if we are not the right fit for you, that's okay. That just means that there's somebody else out there that's going to be the one to help bring your wedding day to fruition.
Yeah.
And for me, I would be so happy if a couple booked me or if they booked one of my friends, because I know one of my friends is going to do a great job on their wedding. But although finding the best fit for both your venue and planner and coordinator.
Those are really some practical but very impactful advices. And I want to thank you, Stephanie. Thank you once again for being here and for sharing your expertise. I know myself, I've gained a lot of advices, and also I heard a lot of insightful things as far as guest experience and overall wedding planning. So thank you. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Fiona and Charles. It was so great to be able to see you guys
Yeah.
again and to just catch up and chat.